fact I just missed out absolutely pisses me off. I don't think anybody genuinely understands. We were actually sitting here, all of us running around doing shit, and then Woods sits down. He's like, "Wait, what are you wearing?" Verlis is like, "A dog collar, a real one." Woods is like, "Who let the dogs out?"
No, who let the dogs out? Woof, woof, woof. Who?
Yeah, you did not capture his energy about that one.
Yeah,
nope. See, that's what I mean. We missed the moment. It's just gone.
We really did, but it was hilarious.
Like Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. These didn't capture the energy of Woods, you know?
No, it's a cheap imitation. Honestly, actually, we're not even going to go into the topics I have in the chat. How does that feel? Because I think that's a really, really interesting thing to talk about. You are such a in-depth character for that character. We had numerous conversations about this where you worked on that character and broke it down to a science of how you wanted that character to act. You kind of helped them showcase how you wanted him to look. Oh, use these tattoos and these things.
And I wrote most of the dialogue too. So that's, yes. Yeah.
So how, when you look at those things and they change so much of it, and then they have a conversation and take you out of it, how does that feel? Because that character was still uniquely you.
I think they misunderstood the nature of Woods and the community, and they thought it was the tone of the voice that made the character. And that just tells me that the directors and the people who are just inexperienced at it, because it's never the vocal quality, it's the subtext, it's the subtext, it's the substance of the delivery. It's like, what are you trying to say? And it's impossible to come in, as an actor and imitate somebody else. It's just impossible when they ask him to do it. So I don't really, it doesn't really, am I bitter? No. Do I think it would have been a better game had they incorporated what I knew? Remember, I got 13 years on this guy. So, I know it's, and plus I have, I've written for it and I've been around the community. So I know there's nuances that were sacrificed that I thought would make the game a lot better today going into Black Ops 6.
At least the storytelling kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it would have afforded them a lot more opportunity to say, oh, hey, by the way, here is connective tissue. I know what kind of story. Where was David Mason? Where's Mason for 30 years? How did Woods end up in the canister? What is all these things, that questions that are sitting that aren't answered? Well, we have answers for those. Well, there were answers for those, and they never tapped into that. So that's what it's more about. I'm disappointed for the fans that they didn't get to see the game actually get connected, have connective tissue evolve. And we started doing it with Black Ops 4 a little bit, but we didn't have enough time or money. But I'm just disappointed that we didn't get to sort of complete the circle so much. So as far as I'm trying to replace me, that's, hey man, that's,
you can't do it.
And it's also, I feel bad for the guy they brought in, because.
And you see that with Leech too. Like he's a very, very character driven kind of guy. Right. You're very, very similar. Regardless of how much Leech actually wrote, you guys character wise envision yourself and showcase yourself in that light. Like, you are Frank Woods online. You just are. That's who you are. There is no difference.
I'm not a psychotic killer. No, I'm not. I'm not that. No.
But it's who you showcase yourself as.
Yeah.
And then Leech was Call of Duty Ghost for how many fucking years on streaming and Twitch and everything else? Like, he blew up based off of.
Well, Jeff got one. He got, that was the 2019 that he came on. Before him was Craig Fairbass. Before him was that character for many years. But Jeff did a very classy thing, which I always respect him for. Jeff actually reached out to Craig and said, "Hey man, I'm taking over the role. I just want to say, I want to just show respect for what you built. And do you have any recommendations? Do you suggest anything?" And it was a great conversation. And Jeff reported this to me, so I have no firsthand information. But in conversation, Jeff told me this, and I thought that's a real classy thing. And that is something that, it tells who the man is, who Jeff is. But that's something that, and also I think nothing goes back to the guy who played Woods in Cold War. It all goes back to what Activision and the production company wanted. Who knows what they want? I do not know what happened. I don't know why, but they made a decision about that, and I don't think it was just accidental. I think they made a decision. I don't know what the parameters were, but so it's never about going back and vilifying somebody who took a job. For God's sakes, I've taken tons of jobs for people.
I don't think of vilifying it like that. I'm saying like it must be weird to look at it where you built the story. It'd be like if J.K. Rowling was in Harry Potter and then they replaced her character. And it's like it doesn't one-to-one make sense how that works, and obviously it didn't succeed to the level that you were at least.
But also, let's put a premise on this conversation. In all reality, without exaggeration, man, I'm just an actor. Like this is not important. I mean, what I do is what a gift, what a blessing to get paid for doing what I do. I mean, I play children's games. So I really can't take myself or my circumstances very seriously, because in the course of history, what do I do? I'm an entertainer. It's entertainment. And I really have to, that is something I wear every day. Like this is what I do is a blessing. It is something you do when there's so much time, energy, food available that people need to be entertained. They were not out there chopping wood and carrying water. I'm actually playing a video game, and I get to be part of this great process. So I really have a hard time taking myself seriously as being wounded or having anything other than saying, "Gosh, I wish I could have finished the story. I wish I could have helped, and I wish they had reached out to me, say, hey, listen,
even just helped write. You know what I'm saying?
Or just, hey, by the way, here's some pitfalls. Don't avoid this. Oh, by the way, we did this. Maybe fix this. Be careful about, would have loved if they had clubs. Look, you just help us out with this. Sure, love to. I'm a fan of the franchise. So it's just that the fact that they really didn't try to use any of my and I'm directly related to in terms of friendship with Dave Anthony, the guy who basically made it all happen. So he and I have been, we still are. We just had lunch yesterday. We're still very close friends, and we still talk shop, So it would have been great to access all that available knowledge and insight. And so that's my only disappointment, is that we didn't really get to use, have all this. It's like having Italian currency or French francs. You can't use them anymore. But God, I got all this. Tons of
I have all this
French
information.
franc.
I have everything I want to use.
But it's you're only taking euros now. Oh, but I got 500,000. So that's how it is. They have a currency that just I want to use it, but there's nowhere to spend it.
No, I think that story isn't necessarily unique after everything we dealt with for such a long time, with everybody getting canned for little things and everything else. But it's so interesting because that character was so uniquely you, that it's just interesting that they thought that they could continue it. It's just odd to me.
Yeah. Well,
it just really is.
What would be great if you could get the director or the producers from Raven Games to come on and talk about it. Now that'd be a show worth watching right there. Have them explain the mentality. Like, why wouldn't you use this resource? It's available. You have it. That would be an interesting conversation.
Well, even with Leach, like they got rid of him over shit he said before. And that to me just, you see this shit with Shane Gillis going back on SNL recently.
Yeah,
you see this with a lot of those things where people are just saying edgy shit. They say edgy shit all the fucking time. Like whether you're a comedian or you're just an actor, you're going to say something that's off color to somebody at some point. And if that gets recorded, now all of a sudden you're fucking canned for everything. That to me just rubs me the wrong way. And like, I don't fucking get it.
Oh, dude, I'm generating some new content right now, and I've got to replace the voices from that I'm using. And there's a guy who's Asian and has a thick accent, And I try to do it myself. I can't do this and put it out because somebody will be offended. Somebody will, and I'm trying to generate some business here, and. So I'm actually, I got a friend of mine who's Korean. I said, hey, could you just say this with a bit of an accent for me? Because I can't do it. If I do it, it'll be deemed quite, an offensive thing.
No, and that shit is so interesting because you see a lot of YouTubers, like Let's Players and stuff like that. They'll do different voices for every character and kind of just integrate people and stuff like that. Like if you do that on a mass scale and release that to even like Netflix or something like that, that's unacceptable. You can't voice an entire cast by yourself, even if you like vocally can. Even if you're great with dialect and shit like that, you can't do that by yourself anymore. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, there's going to be somebody who's going to jump up and have a problem with it. And those are small battles that I don't need to fight. Those are things that I'll find somebody. I go down the corner and there's a restaurant on the street. I know some of the guys. Hey, just say this for me. And that's easily fixed. So that's a battle I'm not going to fight because I don't need to. I'd rather save my ammunition for something much larger than that.
Yeah, that's smart. And
Right?
that's also like a weird thing where it used to be like just acceptable things you could say or do or act. And like I'm rewatching Seinfeld. There's like Hitler jokes and white supremacy jokes, and I'm watching Seinfeld and go, whoa, you can't say that anymore.
Right.
And it just feels so weird where it's like it was mainstream. Same thing with a lot of comedians, same thing with almost everything. And like, sure, it's good that we're all less offensive these days, but now we've definitely overshot it. And then you just have to kind of be whatever about it.
Yeah, the whole being offended thing, I think we have to go long. There's a codependency that's happened, I think, around definitely entertainment, but elsewhere as well, where when we start to define ourselves by other people's words, their thoughts, their actions, we are now a slave to the universe because we need to control what everybody thinks, does, and say so we can be comfortable. And when comfort is your God, when it's your king, that's how it gets manic and crazy. Because now you get to control everyone else's speech and what they do and how they think, and that is the pathway into like what happened in Russia, and China, and throughout history. Controlling people's thoughts. You can't think this. Well, we're at a place now where how many years away are we from having a machine that can actually read your thought? I think Musk's already got something that can pick up thoughts. So
That's
how
what he
long?
wants.
Yeah. So how long before we have our thoughts are monitored? I mean, they are. Our expression of thought is monitored, but how long before we actually have our
actual thoughts? Like we will legitimately have thought-based crime.
Yeah. So that's not science fiction anymore. That's actually happening, I think. So
well, I heard this point and I loved this point because it didn't make a lot of sense until I heard somebody else say it. So I'm not going to take credit for it. But think about it. If you're driving down the road right now and a cop wants you to pull over, you have to pull over for them. Or they have to physically stop you with spike strips or whatever. They have to physically do something. And as we move, 3 years now, they're going to be indicating that everybody has to have electric cars. What stops a signal from that cop car from saying, turn off? That's it. End. It's not your choice anymore. It's not your choice to be a good person or a bad person. They're saying either you choose what we expect you to, or there's a big ass fucking problem.
Let me close the door. I got it.
Yeah. But I thought that was really fucking weird because I'm like, shit, that makes a lot of fucking sense. It's a good fucking point.
But where comes for me, where the rubber meets the road is that when you put this authority into the hands of mere mortals, that's the problem. Like, government is not this thing out there. Government is the DMV. It's the post office. It's the people who sort of administrate, people who activate policies in your life. Policemen, judges. These are the power brokers. These are the people with real power because they actually decide when and where this law is enforced or not enforced. And that's an issue because, I love cops. I'm around. I play hockey with cops. I know a lot of cops. A lot of these guys, I wouldn't want them making a decision in a crisis. I know they're overworked, they're drunks, they're stressed out. They've had bad childhoods, got bad marriages. They're bringing a lot of stress into a situation. When all of a sudden they add some other stress, they can easily make a bad decision because they're human.
Not only make a bad decision, they're making a life-altering decision possibly for every single person in the situation. And so it's like, we're expecting cops and people within power to be perfect, but they're not perfect. Like, I remember dealing with shit, and they're like, oh yeah, if a judge takes this case, if a lawyer takes this case, they have to recuse themselves if they know innately part of the case or a person in the case, or they have bias against it. How does anybody not recuse himself from every case? If you're a man and they're like, okay, so this PDF file is arrested and we're going to have a big ass fucking problem, my answer is always put that person in jail if you can prove to me that he did it. That's all you have to do. I'm going to tell you, you go. Like, I don't understand where this way that we do things now is the answer anymore, because everybody has bias, every single person, and we're so hard stance in how we see things now. We're flipping everybody the bird, essentially.
Well, the thing is, I think what I'm seeing is we have reduced politics and government into being a sport.
Feelings. Yeah,
it's like sports. Either you win or your team. It's not about let's make this thing. Let's figure out why it happened. How do we find cure? How do we cause for cure? But
let's come together and find like the good solution for everyone.
How do we solve this? Now it's like, it doesn't matter if they solve it or not, but my team needs to win. My guy needs to win. And like, we had an adversarial court system. And I'm not sure that's the best way, because you get somebody with a bigger, better stick, they're going to win, which is why many bad people get off on
top of
charges, and some people who should get a break do not, right? Because
on top of there being biases towards certain sexes in certain cases and everything else, like
there's bias everywhere. It goes in every direction. But my point is, since it's adversarial, the guy with the biggest hammer, and who can afford the biggest hammer? Well, you need money for that. And then it's corrupted in the sense that for the last 50, I think forever, because Shakespeare said it, right? First thing you do is kill all the lawyers. Lawyers exist solely to make other lawyers rich. I know people go through civil suits and it costs them more for their lawyer to pay out a couple $1,000 in a fine or damages, but their lawyer costs $30,000 to get them for a $2,000 settlement. So that's where the corruption is. I think that they make it so dangerous that, okay, if you don't pay this out now, then it'll cost you $1 million and take your business away. Okay, well and this is a known activity. There are law firms in LA specialize in stealing money, especially with the ADA stuff in California. I know a couple of companies that are getting zapped every year. They get something stupid like, oh, the widget on your website didn't work. And so somebody goes around and looks for websites on small businesses who don't have retainers, and they get, oh, look at it, they don't have this ADA widget, and they file a complaint. Never having wanted to buy something, it could be like a women's lingerie, and it's Mr. Gonzalez said this, like, wait a minute, he's never been on the website. And so what happens is there's lawyers that basically hire these guys to go out, find these vulnerabilities, and there's no cure for cause either. Like, they don't say, oh, by the way, you have 30 days to fix this. They just go right to lawsuit.
Yep.
And that's like,
I remember dealing even with my workers' comp case. My workers' comp case, I paid 15% to my lawyer. It was a $100,000 case.
Yep.
More than likely never able to physically work again because of problems with my neck.
Yep.
And 15%. But at the same time, it's like, do you risk a multi-billion-dollar company beating you over the head for 15%? Which one do you pay? Do you pay possibly getting nothing, or do you pay the bill? Paying the bill kind of made a lot more sense.
Well, yeah, I as an actor, I came to a realization when I first started. I used to get upset because I never had an agent, or very rarely have an agent or manager or something like that. And then I used to get very upset because they would take 10, 15, 20% of what you make. But then I realized, you know what? When people make money, when people make money off of me, they like me a lot better. Like I was making good money for my commercial agent. I could walk in there and break a dish and they wouldn't care. Oh, hey, here's another one because I'm making them money. So, that's how this capitalism works. I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with, and if a lawyer gets you your money and he takes a fee and I'm okay with that. It's just when they take good laws with good intention, yep. but the end result is the consequences. They use it to hurt innocent people with it. Well, hey, you didn't put this widget on, and that's not ADA compliant, so we're going to take your money now. But wait a minute, there's got to be give me 30 days to fix this before you're allowed to sue somebody. California, they get you right away. And again,
and it seems like the more we go online, the more we turn everything to just an online conversation. We are disconnecting the availability for everybody to know every single little regulation unless you find the exact fucking docket on a website or something like that. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, and it's
going farther and farther.
But that's what I'm saying about lawyers, and I run a business. I have a business, and it's unbelievable how difficult it is to keep up with all the things that are needed. Just in California, I got to send $800 here. I got to send 20. I got the Statement of Information Act. And it's nonstop, and it costs a couple $1,000 just to exist as a corporation in California. I mean, so you're not making.
That's why people go to Delaware and shit like that and incorporate there.
But my point is, like, that's still lawyers. You got to hire a lawyer or somebody who knows the law, and it's just so they have this, documents and they have a language that no one speaks. It's like code.
And so that's the predatory part about it too, where like if you haven't paid to understand the code, well then no layman or no person just wants to honestly start a business can do it right, and then it's just traps and pitfalls everywhere.
And you saw that in early YouTube. They were entrapping kids. Yeah, they were entrapping kids in perpetual contracts with low payouts on purpose, so that way they could make millions and take all of the money from the people that were earning it, just because it was a new fucking place to earn money. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious the way that these people kind of just propagate things and kind of stick their head into things and be like, I'm not doing anything bad, I promise. It's just like, dude, can we stop having bad faith? Like, and that's the shitty thing, is like, it seems like everybody is so far up their own ass that they don't understand anybody else. That's my hardest thing with an agent or something like that. I feel like me being in the room to get the thing gets the thing more accomplished than having somebody sell me, because I'm an autistic dipshit who absolutely fucks up way too much. But me and you having a video conversation or a face-to-face conversation, I could sell you on it pretty easily. It's just which side is it going to be?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's in terms of, I know a lot of people ask me if they want to be actors, and I say, okay, you better have a job first, because you need to have a life
like that.
But also, it's like it's interesting. Until you become a star, and until it's like you have two kind of actors. You have an actor that has skills and they can take the story from point A to point B. They can sell the script. They can sell the character. They can support the story in the stars. Now that you can make a career out of it, you can do okay. You can make a few bucks. You can have a nice car. You can live comfortably. At least you could back in the day. And then the other kind of actor is somebody who their name brings people and puts them in the seat. You're the reason it gets made. That's a career. When the phone call, people start calling you because you can help the investors invest the money. Oh, we love it. That's Brad Pitt shot. I'll invest in that movie. And that's a career. And most agents, you need that for your agent. All the other agents, basically, they take each, they get a breakdown and they submit your headshot, and then it's a lottery. So all you're paying for someone to do is submit your headshot in a lottery, and then you, along with another 1,000 guys who look just like you, who's done everything. How do you get the gig? How do you differentiate yourself? Your agent is only as strong as your resume.
Yeah,
and and that's reality. And so when you're paying them hopefully to negotiate and take care of all the nuances around your contract. But now in the world where we have, there is no middle class. You work for scale or you are the star. But the days of a quote back in the mid 2000s, I had a quote I can make. Okay, here's what my day rate is. Okay, that's your day rate, and they would meet your day rate. Even with like the Call of Duty games, I had a day rate, and now we'll give you scale and a half. I go, all right, well, scale's pretty good, but you can't make a living at scale. You just can't, So that's the thing. Yeah.
It's just really interesting to me kind of learning about all this shit, because it seems like a lot of the YouTubers, especially the higher end ones, the people above 1 million or so, they are in that lower level of stardom almost. Like if you get PewDiePie and put him on a TV show, people are going to shit themselves. You put somebody over a month,
for the first 2 episodes, and if it is not compelling. And again, I don't think the audience transfers from that content into what I call long form content or TV content. Being a personality,
paid for content,
is different than plugging yourself into a story and making it work. It's PewDiePie.
It seems like a lot of the people online would succeed in something like a reality show where they're always on or the camera's on and they're able to be themselves. But if it's a character-based thing, that is where they're going to struggle, because that's not what they do. They sell themselves, which is where I think a lot of people kind of would be like, oh yeah, well, PewDiePie would translate. Okay, where is he going to translate? Survivor or Days of Our Lives? I think Survivor's 10 times.
Well, again, when you say translate, will it translate to destination entertainment? Because that's what TV is going back to. Back in the day, Thursday night we got F Troop. Hogan's Heroes on Wednesday, and now with the advent of streaming, you can watch Game of Thrones. HBO has a little bit different model, but basically you can watch any show you want. Go on Prime. You can binge watch an entire season if you want. Depends on when you want to watch it, right? And you pay a premium to get the show first. But if you wait long enough, like if you're 1 year behind, like I am, I'll watch a whole show on my subscription.
Yeah, exactly.
So that changed everything. Like for people to show up, it's got to be Game of Thrones. Like Sunday night, Game of Thrones. HBO
nobody cares about a time gated thing anymore. Nobody cares.
Yeah, no one cares. Nobody needs to be any place. But I think you're going to see 2 things happen. I think the subscription services have figured it out that they need to start charging for commercials, and you see more and more. Like Prime's got commercials all the time. Netflix will have it very soon.
I think they broke the streaming service way it was.
Yeah.
So you had cable, which was every wire going into your house had cable. You had to pay for it and everything else, and it was ad based and U based.
Yep.
They got paid twice. Now they're realizing, look at this dude chugging a big old fucking vodka again. They went through and they made it so now, we're going to run to streaming. Then you had Netflix pop up and become the biggest thing in streaming. Now everybody, instead of going to Netflix and selling their content there, they're now selling you your content individually again, just like we tried to get away from with cable to begin with. And obviously, guys, that wasn't vodka. Woods made a joke about it like 2 or 3 times ago when he was on the show. Like, I drink in glass bottles.
I drink water out of glass bottles only. I don't drink plastic.
I just thought it was funny. Nice little callback from 4 years ago.
Yeah, I always get busted for that.
But yeah, no, I think that's really funny because they're how many fucking subscription services now? When if you look back 5 years ago, there was 2. There's 2 that matter. Amazon didn't even matter yet.
I think the new trend is the vertical integrations. Like Apple, not only do they have their own platform and their own production companies, now they're creating their own content. And you're going to see this vertical integration. I think what's going to happen is
that started with Netflix originals. You used to have things like House of Cards and stuff like that fucking exploded.
Well, HBO, and the vertical integration is going to be you have with Apple is unique because they have the device that you deliver to your iPhone, your Apple computer, your pad, your iPad, and then so they have it from top to bottom. They own the music, they own the content, they own the means of delivery, they own the device which you do it. So basically, they have become their own universe. And at some point, I would venture to say within 3 to 5 years, Apple will no longer. There'll be some type of religion. You either have to have an Apple universe, and you're not allowed anywhere else, or on the same computer. Like I got to feel my Apple computers will not allow me to go to. There'll be AI will say, no, you can't go watch YouTube on this. This is an Apple computer. You have to watch our version of that. So I think there's restrictions coming.
They were doing that stuff with the App Store and stuff like that. They were charging exorbitant fees. I think it was like 30% of your purchases on the Apple Store was then taken from the provider to begin with. And then they were banning every other available app store. So you could download third-party app stores from the internet, but it would ban your phone.
Apple takes, when I do cameos, Cameo takes 25% of what I make. Apple takes another 25% of what I make.
Yep.
Which is insane, right? Apple takes, if you use Apple Pay, it's like, why am I getting $10 for this? They charge $25. Oh, because Apple takes a bite.
Yep.
That's funny. An Apple.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Man bites dog. Yeah, see? I'm smart. I know stuff. I'm smart.
No, it's weird that those things are so integrated within each other that they're getting shot down. And the fact that went to court and Epic Games fought against Apple, to me, is insane. The fact that two titans within that industry of electronics and gaming and stuff fought each other. They removed Fortnite and all of the games from Epic on iPhone completely just because they didn't want to deal with that shit. They're like, I created the content. I sold the content. Yeah, you get to host it. That doesn't mean you get to make 25% off of everything I fucking sell. It's a lot of fucking money.
It's millions of billions of dollars. But what are you gonna do? I mean, you really have to, like you say, when all of a sudden you can only buy electric cars, and then they outlaw gas cars. What are you gonna do? Now they got the switch, and they want your car to stop. But hit a switch, and that is the problem. Is back to come full circle. Who is the guy or gal who's flicking the switch? You know,
we used to say they don't have magnets at every stoplight where it just shuts your car off completely. Oh, let's turn off the magnet when the light goes green. Boom.
There you go.
And you're back on.
Yeah. See, we're going to face some interesting challenges within the next 3 years. I mean, the election coming up from now until November is going to be a sprint. Like I have no idea what's going to happen next. I have no idea because
it seems like Trump, as more and more things are brought against him, he's getting stronger. He's becoming more belligerent of a candidate. He's shoving it in your face and he's saying, "Hey,
well,
guys, this was mine."
It's less him. It's like small, like guys like me, people like people who own businesses, people who are getting stomped on by all this regulation stuff. They feel like it's them on trial. It's the same idiocy that we have to go through when we go to the DMV or we got to deal with a lawyer about your thing. Oh my God, we're seeing it happen to him. Well, who are you gonna, the enemy
humanized him, and that was something that we missed a lot of. Before his presidency, is he was this big guy who lived in New York City and told people they were fired. Now we're seeing, he paid his porn star out of the wrong fucking account like a dipshit. Like we all would have. Like, can we be honest and say that we would have fucked up the accounting on something?
Wait, let's make a lesson of that.
Pay the wrong thing.
Let's make it simpler than that. If you're going to go after him for the real estate thing and for this, I will. In this case, they must go after. They must take the same amount of energy and money and look into Hillary, look into Obama,
Biden,
look into Clinton. What are they? If they dug hard enough, you don't think they're going to find some discrepancy?
Well, you don't even have to dig. Hunter's laptop done. Jail.
Yes. So here we are.
Just the drugs by themselves is jail for what, 5 or 6 years?
And how is getting an NDA to protect? How is that not a legitimate in this day and age? How is that not a legitimate campaign expense to keep somebody from saying bad shit about you? Here's some money. Go away.
It's gray area at the minimum. I agree completely. That's what I'm saying is like, as a whole, if you pay somebody incorrectly, there are things that everybody does within a business or a job or day to day. You put that shit on the wrong card. You know how many people I used to know that would get gas cards from work and be like, oh, I put my personal car on the gas card instead of my truck for work. Fuck, I fucked up. Do you think anybody admits that? No. No, you fucking say, oh, I lucked out. I got $50 this week, and you move the fuck on.
But also, to what end? Again, if you, like with the real estate stuff, every person who's ever sold a house has overvalued the property. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, then you're a fucking liar. All right. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to get more money from what they have. Every time I sell a car, I think the car's worth $40,000. Well, we'll give you 38. It's a negotiation.
Yeah,
every person
bump them up as much as you possibly can because you know that they have money on the fucking bone that they can cut off, and you want to get as much of it cut off as possible.
And nobody was a victim. The bank got paid back. No one's a victim here, but yet they're. And so the same thing here. Like, really keeping a porn star who exploits her body is willing to exploit him. Oh, get her. We have a campaign to run. Shut her up. You know what? I get that. Fine. Kennedy. What did they pay to shut Marilyn up? You can go. Bill Clinton. He's getting a blowjob in the White House. I mean, come on. This is so infantile.
Well, even with you have two big ones within the stock market too, which are illegal. Like, this is illegal shit that is directly told to us. They cannot do this. You have Hillary with cow futures. Where the fuck has she ever seen a cow other than in the mirror? I don't understand. But she hit it every single time when it went up and when it went down. And then now you have Nancy Pelosi, who's hit fucking, NVIDIA. Where the fuck did Nancy Pelosi understand or know what the fuck NVIDIA even is, let alone able to call the futures and everything perfectly for the past 3 years? Have you seen the change in NVIDIA stock?
Oh, yeah. Believe me. Yeah.
It's fucking insane.
But at the end of the day, when I look at it, it comes down to who is next to you, and are they powered by the law, and do they have the ability to reason, okay, you're breaking the law, I'm going to take action against you? What gives them the right? Here's the thing that's happening that really concerns me. And when I've been really watching this, because we have a big homeless problem here and a lot of migrant problem here in LA. And
I know we talked about that last week. There was a guy walking down in LA, walking around with somebody's leg that he took and was eating it like a turkey leg.
And that's what you see. There's so much more happening than that. That's all that you get that gets through the Gilligan net. But what I'm afraid of is that when they start arming these people and they want to make them police officers here in LA, because again, a good idea, but bad consequence. Well, because the population is so high here that the immigrants, the illegal immigrants, are afraid to come forward for police protection. So, okay, well, we'll give you your own police force. But that hands a guy a gun. I can't carry a gun. It hands a guy a gun. We haven't vetted. We have no idea where he's from. And now he gets jurisdiction over me. And I drive my car. And who knows why he's stopping me? They may come from a culture that stealing money as a cop is something that they think is okay. This is very
20 years ago, we were afraid of MS-13 coming up from Mexico. Why the fuck?
Now we're arming them.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Again, this is conjecture, but as I watch more and more footage, as even Dr. Phil, for God's sake, I never liked Dr. Phil. Now all of a sudden he's thrown all this really he did a trip down the border, and and I trust him because he has no reason to lie about this stuff. To me, he's always been on the left side. He's been liberal. But when you watch stuff about China buying up farmland near military facilities, when you watch his documentary on the invasion of migration, it's like, holy shit! If this guy's pointing it out, then I really got to take notice. So I started paying attention to it deeper and deeper. I said, there's a momentum here that is not covered. And the violence that's happening in Ireland, the violence that's happening in Germany, it's often the same thing. When you bring in this, and when I see how these people are living, it's horrible. It's inhumane. And it's not their fault. Because someone fed them this idea, oh, go to America, they'll give you a job and money, you live, you never have to work a day in your life. Kind of this fantasy of coming here. So you can't blame the individual who made the trek. I blame the people who are sort of trying to convince them to come, who are imploring them to come. And I'm like, well, how do you...
And gaslighting the situation.
What happens when they get here and we don't have the ability to absorb 8-9 million people. Look at Sweden, Germany. They got populations who can't be trained, who can't be absorbed, and now they're making their own pockets. Look at London.
There's a lot of the EU. You have a lot of the Middle Eastern migrants come in there and almost take over full entire cities, or at least segregate complete sections of cities where they're instituting Sharia law and everything else.
Right.
And you see all the things that happen in Cologne and everything else. But I want to look at this at a more kind of generalized, fun kind of way. And, everybody's talking with Fallout coming out and everything else, the TV show. Oh, everybody kind of has stats that they have built into them. You have stats from where you're from and what state you're from. What is your state's stat buffs that it gives you? What does living in California give you? What does living in Washington give you?
I only think of debuffs.
Oh, honestly, either way.
You have like a money penalty, you have like a drug addiction penalty, crime penalty, intelligence probably down. I don't know.
Well, I would assume Washington, you would have the availability for that intelligence to go up with how many people work in the tech sector and stuff. Yeah, there's
it's brain drained out here.
But
all of tech's been like brain drained and stuff. It's just underachieving.
It seems like they're running on autopilot almost.
Mm-hmm.
So New York, I think by far is having the dog in you. Like you have that grittiness where you're just able to kind of shove your head into shit and know that you have to deal with it and kind of just accept it. And it doesn't seem like a lot of people have that.
I think the people who did that are moving out, at least from people, my friends in New York.
Texas.
Long-time New Yorkers saying, oh, fuck this. No.
Yep.
I mean, there are long-time... a lot of parts of the city are vacant, and they're being inhabited by people who cannot take the opportunity. Like, if there's no foot traffic, there can be no businesses. And who's going to employ
everybody out?
How do you employ another million people the city can't employ unskilled and undeveloped workers as it is? Now you add another million to that city. Now they're wards of the state. The
city is stupid, like price wise. So I live in upstate. I'm paying $1,000 for 1,000 square feet of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment.
Right.
If I got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in New York City or Long Island or even Jersey, just counting Jersey too, I'm paying at minimum $4,500 a month.
Yep.
Minimum wage in New York City, $20 an hour minimum. Up here, $16. So the thing is you're still not even making enough money to make it. You're doubling your cost output and you're still not able to do it. But I think that grind of I live here and the sense of pride of where you are, it seems like New York City and New York State as a whole has that a hell of a lot more than other states, other than like people that are super, super fruity in LA, and then you have people in Texas. Everywhere else does not give a fuck about the state they're from. It's like, I'm me. Everything else, fuck it. I don't care. They don't have pride anymore. So I don't know. I think that's kind of like
I would disagree with that. I think when you go to like Wyoming or Montana,
how many people have you heard of that's like, yeah, I'm from Wyoming?
Oh, they don't leave.
A lot. Yeah, they don't leave, but they're also proud. They're just like, at least I'm not one of those trash states. I love it.
I've never talked to anybody from Wyoming.
Yeah, but when you go to Wyoming, it's like no one. There's this understanding that this is our life. My buddy Darwin was living in Wyoming, and he had moved back to Vegas.
What shaped beak did he have?
What's that?
What shaped beak did he have?
Beak?
Yeah, Darwin from the Galapagos Islands.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, he just like Zach just fucking whiffed on that.
Yep, it was there. I just missed.
No, he didn't whiff. I just have no eyesight. I couldn't see the ball coming. He just zipped right behind me. He threw me a meatball and I just fanned on it. anyways, he misses it. He wishes he could go back, but the people are there, and you really can't. Yeah, and it's a long story, but yeah, Montana people, but except they hate the fact that it's being overrun by Californians.
Everything's being overrun by California.
I did a film in Bozeman a few years ago, and Bozeman looked like I was walking around in Westwood. It's like, and the girl who was the nurse on set, she's like from Montana. She goes, "Yeah, we hate you fuckers. We just fucking hate you. You've ruined Montana because we can't." She's like, she lives 30 miles outside the city because everything in the city is so expensive. And she goes, "Yeah, we just hate you people. We can't buy land here. We can't buy land. All the best property is gone. The ski areas are." She goes, people come here. They have these properties. They come two weeks a year. And there's no money flowing. They don't want to pay taxes on their properties, and they have all this influence because they bought other politicians. She goes, "We fucking hate you people." I think that's happening more and more.
Arizona has that. I think there's just like, it's like the weird gentrification people aren't talking about, where it's like, yeah, but it's also the rural areas. It's everyone getting priced out by California refugees, and then they bring their shitty politics.
New York City's doing the same thing here. So this apartment that I rent now, I've been in for 8 years now, 7 years now.
Link.
That's the link for the IQ thing.
Okay, good.
I figured when there's a split, take it. We were dealing with $700 rents for a 3-bedroom apartment. $900 if you lived closer to town and stuff like that. Like, I live 20 minutes out of town. Is that crazy? No, but it's shitty if you don't know how to kind of accommodate that. Now, after COVID and everything else, the rents for 1-bedrooms right now are $1,200 to $1,400. Like, I'm still paying less than everybody else, and it's like, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. Like, honestly, it's gross. Since COVID, everything got fucked.
Yeah, it's and we can talk a lot of things. A lot of it, is secondhand because I get my information from other different places. But there also the issue of investment companies buying up houses and buying property.
And not just investment companies. You have companies that are owned by Chinese companies that are coming in and buying full cul-de-sacs, full entire towns and everything else.
Farmland.
Yeah. At some point, we have to cut this shit. Nothing should be company
There's a thing that was popular about 10 years ago in California, because I remember I was living in West Hollywood at the time, and someone came by and put a thing on the house. It was a nice house, and they said, "Well, you want to buy your house? Well, it's not for sale." And I said, "Well, what would you sell it for?" I go, "It's not for sale." So I finally took. I'm gonna take a meeting. And it was a company that and they did real estate tourism. They have a bunch of folks from China come over and put them on a bus, and they would drive around in a bus, very, very fancy bus. And they would go and look at property and buy property, 3 or 4 houses at a time. And that's what they would do. They go in there, just drive around California and just buy property. And it's called real estate tourism. Now, we do the same thing. I mean, this is where it gets really, we got to be very careful here. I know people who go to Greece and they're buying up towns now, or they go buy an island. I mean, Tom Hanks bought an island, apparently. We do the same thing. And we go to other countries and we buy property there. Portugal is a big destination now.
We personally, like me or you, should be allowed to do that. If we want to go live in China, go ahead, go buy a house in China. You want to own a house here too? Buy a house here. But we should not send Walmart over to Portugal and shit to buy townhouses. That doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, there's that disconnect that we're allowing something that is being detrimental to our people. Like, if somebody wants to come here and provide to the GDP and that town or whatever vague level you want to look at, absolutely. Person, not company. Company, if they want to start a company and bring it here too, start a company and bring it here. Why are you doing real estate business almost entirely with China? That to me seems disgusting and discredited. Like, it's just weird.
Well, get me careful with that word "weird" because it doesn't define much for me. I think I think we always have to look at it's happening, and there's two realities. One is this is commerce. This is what we ask for. This is good. What we then ask for is for tricks to be done that limit the ability of an economy to function. So, a lot of the farmers okay, how do I explain this? When you bring in really cheap labor, right? Mm-hmm. Here's an example I had. So basically, China's doing to Hollywood right now what American manufacturers did to China for 40 years. So China, there's a lot of Chinese production, lots of. In fact, I'm doing one on Friday just to see what it's like. It's called vertical integration. It's called vertical content. So basically, they shoot it for TikTok, and it goes on, yep, vertically, and their pay rates are less than minimum wage. So basically, if your minimum wage is $20 an hour, so so basically it's less than minimum wage, or maybe a little bit better. And there's so little work for middle class actors that people are lining up to do this. They're getting really high quality talent working for. You'd be shocked at the people working for $400 a day. Shocked, yeah. Like that. You had a guy had his own fucking TV series. Now he's working for $400 a day because it's that hard.
If I could work for $400 a day, I'd be happy.
Well, yeah, but remember, it's not like you're working every day. If you work 40 days a year, it's a lot for an actor, for an average actor. If you get 40 days a year, you need to make a couple grand days just to make ends meet. So you make $400, you work twice a month. That's nothing. Then you pay out your agents, your managers, taxes. So yeah, it sounds like a lot of money to realize you're not working every day, but you get taxed like you are. But what has happened is so the Chinese are making all this content, and they're just, here, this is what we're paying, and take the job or not. And because this content is taking up space, there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many views, right? Eyeballs. And so it's taking up space, and better get a couple of days and make yourself, $400 or $500. You have cash, but it's like sweatshops. You got actors who are, young actors come in and are doing these things. They will never have a life or a career because they can't make enough money. It's like working, like flipping burgers. You're never going to own a house working 40 hours a week at McDonald's because you're making $700. You come home $500 a week. You can't live on that. It's not possible. And that's where our industry is going. Either you're the star of SWAT, or you're out here grubbing around trying to find. I got lucky. I got in at the end of it all, so I'm okay. But when I look down a lot of young actors, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how you're going to do it. You got to have a job. You got to have another job because you can't sustain yourself with your acting skill anymore.
I had a really weird ADHD thought, and I was like, okay, I'm going to Google this because of the topic that Verlis sent to me earlier this week. And I'm going to bring up the shit on the screen for them in post, but I'll show you guys this graph. That is the average IQ by state as of this year. The fact that California is one of the lowest rated states within IQ is insane to me, because California was one of these states that was just propagated as one of the biggest and best places of all time. And you look at this graph, and so many of the states where you're like, oh, they're people who are kicking rocks and have lower available people in those states, they have a higher IQ. So I was like, okay, so let me double down on this and check to see what it was before. We're decreasing with an average estimated IQ across the entire country. And that's where this gets interesting, because I wonder genuinely if us dropping in IQ is not just environmental, we're doing it to ourselves because we're not challenging ourselves. We're not asking the questions, what if, why, how does this work, and everything else. We're not doing this anymore. We're kind of just sitting on our ass. We're kind of not doing anything. We're kind of telling ourselves to go fuck ourselves in a way. I wonder.
Let me ask you a question. I got to ask this question constantly to myself. Okay, what am I looking at? What is the source of the information? And what is the metric by which they're measuring IQ? Because if you're measuring IQ by a standard that was established back in even the 90s, you're going to have issues like, the average person in the 90s did not know, a lot about computers, right? Now that's what you do. AI, I'm learning AI. So if you were to throw me to a pool of IQ quotients that are about AI, I'd be at the bottom of the spectrum, because that's not what I am now paying attention to. I'm trying to learn it, but at the same time, like cryptocurrency, I still don't understand cryptocurrency well enough. Digital currency is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So when you talk about IQ, the IQ is going to shift according to what is the world requiring us to know.
Well, it's also how we're presenting it. So I'm seeing a lot of actual people say, "Hey, the average IQ has gone down from 100 to anywhere in between 98 as far back as 2000 and down to about 90 to 89."
But how are they measuring though?
I don't know, but that's what I was saying. Was like,
asking IQ, do you know how to make a fire? Can you change a tire? Can you change a spark
plug? That's
not
how a test for IQ works. It's mostly like pattern recognition, reading comprehension, and then like basic math. That's like, okay, if you have intelligence, you can figure out how to put these pieces together. They're not saying, oh, in 1948, who invented this?
It's not retention or breaking down facts that you've learned. It's more understanding and perceiving how things work and stuff like that. That's what's interesting to me, is that if there is actually a legitimate dip, which they're saying in certain cases there is, and in certain cases, we've increased by 100 points, somebody's lying. And it seems like the people that we're dealing with now are shoved so far up their own asses that they can't perceive or understand or have empathy towards somebody else's experience. Okay, so if that's the truth, where are we? Because now we're getting more and more in depth with dealing with people on the EQ side of IQ than just basic IQ. We don't have interpersonal skills anymore. We're like, oh, I feel bad for that person, so I'm going to fight every fight for them because they don't want to do it for themselves. And we can't articulate that. Nobody can. They're all kind of sitting on their hands. I thought it was interesting. So, Verlis, why don't you read off that green text that you found?
Well, my idea is like, I believe people are getting dumber. Just like social media, again, with a lack of empathy or wanting to like understand things. No one can admit when they're wrong. And I think it's creating like a death of critical thinking and common sense. No one can rationalize, really.
And it seems like everybody's kind of putting themselves into a soundproof box of, if you share my opinions, I'll accept you. The second you dissent from my opinions, because my opinions all of a sudden mean so much more than everybody else's, fuck you. And it's really funny because everybody gets so confused in the comments when I'll post a short and they'll be like, oh, this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, well, that makes sense. That's the exact point I had, you dipshit. You proved me right by saying your point, which is supposed to prove me wrong. I thought it was hilarious last night. I posted the bear short. So I don't know if you heard about this, Woods, but there's this joke and question that's going around. They're asking females, if you were walking in the woods and you found a bear, 50% of the time, and you were walking in the woods 50% of the time, you found a man, who would you rather run into, the bear or the man? Right. And these chicks are choosing to walk into a bear every single time. And it's like, well, we're afraid. I was like, yeah, exactly. You're afraid of something that you see all of the time. You're interactive with them all of the time. And we're telling you exactly where we need to protect you. And you're saying, hey, I don't want that protection. You're being a chauvinist. And it's like, no, sorry, that's not how this works. You proved my point, right? You said, well, bears happen 1 in, I think, 100 million times the probability for a bear attack that leads to death. This dude's like, well, women are affected 1 in 6,000. I'm like, okay, that's my exact point. You don't understand what the fuck they're looking at. They're saying, oh, well, a bear is not as scary as a man. Okay, I agree. Sure, whatever. You're seeing men more often, so those are going to be skewed. But you prove my point. You prove my point that we should not have intergendered bathrooms and bedrooms for people that aren't family. That's not how things should work, regardless of if it's public or not. I just so many fucking knuckle draggers drive me up a wall. Do you want to read that green text? Or?
I couldn't tell.
I want to know if he had any thoughts on, like, do you think people are getting dumber? Is it social media, or is your wisdom through age just kind of like, it's always been this way?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah. If people are getting dumber, I think for me, the patterns are showing that it's a shift of priority, which means people appear dumber because they're not focused on, again, it's all relative to me. Like, all right, I'm from an analog existence. So for me, it's like, if you can't figure out how to do something with your hands, I question, your native intelligence. A lot of it's skill, but most of it is exposure. And the things you're talking about, the ideas you're talking about, are not false. Like this thing about the bear, because there's truth in that. You're more likely to. Is it more dangerous to see a man in the wild or a bear? And what's the dumbness to me? What's dumb is that they stop at the superficial idea. Like, okay, a bear.
The ideology right now. I'm so afraid of men. I have to say this, and it's like
that's my point. It's like they don't think it through, and that's where I think we've gotten dumber. Is that we're not thinking through the whole concept. Well, yes. Well, how many bears what's the chance of encountering a bear? Very slim. And most bears would run away from you when you saw them. So bears are innately, they're more controllable because the average, unless you got a grizzly bear, and define what kind of bear. Is it a local black bear, which is shy, or is it a grizzly that's in November and he's hungry? So again, when you generalize your points of contact, I'll call it, all men are this, all bears are that, bears are safe. Well, no. The bears are very different. Is it a mother bear with the kids? Is it a park ranger? So the lack of sort of indexing and identifying the thing you're talking about in whole. It's like, okay, men bad, bear, that generalization is the dumbness. The willingness to say everything is this, everything is that. And that bifurcation is a direct result, I believe, in social media, because you find a side and you pick, and you don't have to think deeper than that 144 characters, because now you either validated or invalidated. Either you go to war, and that's why before you had a good point, like, if I'm not validated, I don't like you. Well, yeah, because there's no way to go into a deeper conversation about anything. And like pick this whole thing apart about the bears and men. If you really unpack it, what's being compared here, and then what is the unintended consequence of that conversation? Like, yeah, well, the proof is that men are more powerful than women. Women get to say things and do things because there's a guy with a gun who's going to enforce a law that protects you. So you feel confident that you can do this, and then you have women who take really strange chances, because there's this idea that I'm safe and I'm a woman, I'm powerful. Well, yeah, but remember the guy you're afraid of in the woods? This is to your point. So the inability to think things through, or the unwillingness, or not being trained to think things through in a longer thought, is now becoming very pervasive. And to me, that's not. I don't call that lack of intelligence. That is just a laziness. So have we become lazier? Absolutely. Less intelligent? I don't know. But lazier? Absolutely. Because people are quick, man. People know how to manipulate much better. They know how to create.
And that's where I was going to go. Yeah. It's like, it seems like, and you would definitely be able to see this and understand it a little bit. It seems like a lot of the 80s, later 80s, throughout the 90s, and the beginning of the 2000s kids that are now the adults, a lot of us grew up with very, very narcissistic parents, because they're the 70s and 80s kids that were shoved so far up their own asses that they kind of just had the I'm going to do whatever the fuck I wanted gene. And then they've given that and showed that nobody gives a fuck about those kids, the late 80s to 2000s kids. That that's millennials, I believe. The Gen X didn't care about millennials. So now the millennials have the same exact sticking point that Gen X did, where they shoved their heads out of the ground and said, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. Now we're saying, oh, we don't give a fuck what the fuck you're saying, regardless of if it makes sense. We're doing whatever the fuck we want. And it's created two levels of you guys telling us we don't give a fuck, then us saying we don't give a fuck. Now we have two generations of that. The generation before Gen X, you have the people in the greatest generation. You have World War II and you have Vietnam that all kind of gave those things. They gave up their self and went forward. Now we have a lot of narcissists that don't exactly know how to explain themselves and they're fucking uncomfortable in social situations. It seems like it's more or less a change of the culture because the 70s and 80s didn't raise us. The generation before the millennials didn't raise us. They kind of let the TV raise us. They kind of let their choices of feminism or whatever raise us to the point where they didn't give a fuck.
Well, remember great, really good, interesting line of thinking here. Could we trace it back to the advent of preponderance of television? Because television became Vietnam War was the first war televised live, right? Every night they're watching sports scores. Walter Cronkite, how many killed, how many wounded, how many did we kill, how many did we wound? It became like
watching it into a game.
It came into a spectator sport. It's like, and as television became more and more available, before television used to be, you'd start at 9 o'clock in the morning and at 11 o'clock at night there'd be no television. Then all of a sudden cable happened and there's 24-hour broadcast capabilities. That was amazing, right? You could turn on TV and watch a movie at 2 o'clock in the morning. We didn't grow up like that. That wasn't available to us. So I think the onset of 24-hour
instant gratification,
entertainment and what was called this kind of watching, being entertained for that time. And now as people became more and more, as money became harder and inflation, as we went off the gold standard, now money became printed. So inflation went through the roof. People had to work more. So mothers went to work. So how do you take care of your kids? Well, put them here. Here's a TV dinner.
Here's school.
Sit in front of the TV, watch your cartoons for, Saturday morning I got to do my work. So cartoons and TV, cartoons became your babysitter. And the cartoons were kind of, if you look at them now, they really created biases in this group of people. And if you track down different kind of cartoons you watch, you can see a behavioral pattern, I think, of who watched Bugs Bunny. Well, gosh, you couldn't kill that Roadrunner with an anvil on somebody's head. So you as a kid, you're so easily programmed. And then you just watch the proliferation and evolution of television and home entertainment.
Parents never question the kid because the kid could never question the parent. And that transversing of not being able to question each other, so in my house, my kids can always question me, not question my authority, but ask, what do you like, trying to understand what the problem is or come up with another excuse or another answer for what this situation is.
Right.
I let them question so that way they can be adapted individuals when they're adults. But if I remember me as a kid, I was allowed to question a hell of a lot more than a lot of other kids were. A lot of other kids were, this is my house. I brought you into this world. I'll take you out, which is like such a disgusting ideology and rhetoric that does bring down the intelligence of people. Because if you're not able to question something, if you're not able to question your mom, why the fuck would you question the government? They have what's best for you, just like your mom. And it's like, guys, we're missing the point here. We're missing the point. The fuck?
Well, remember, no one's ever loved the government. I mean, you go back and reread about the Depression and going into World War I. People have distrusted the government since the Revolution. and with good reason. Like people talk about the Civil War being fought for. It was mostly because you have people who lived in one place and they're being governed by people who lived 1,000 miles away who have no idea what their lives were like. Well, fuck you. You can't tell me how to live. You don't know my life. And that has been, that's where we are today as well, the flyover states. If someone's in New York City, well, you can't have a gun. You shouldn't have, because I don't like guns. You can't have a gun. Well, wait a minute. I live in an area that I need a gun. You don't need it. It's like, and that hasn't changed since.
And nobody.
We're
people don't want to understand.
Serfs and kingdom. It's a kingdom. It's kings and peasants. And hopefully, if you get lucky, you become a knight and fight your way up into a higher level. But how's it any different? We're still almost everyone I know where I work, when they get a room with somebody who can invest in their movie, they don't care what their politics are. They don't care how good or bad they treat people. They want the money for their movie, and they'll kiss their ass and bow. I just sat through.
You see that with Weinstein. You see that with Weinstein throughout the entire 90s.
There are so many instances. The new one is I was working with a company for the last 6-7 months, and I got to sit in the room while they were pitching these companies. And almost at the top of the food chain, every company came in for investment was somebody who was connected to the CCP. Without fail, Warner Brothers, Sega, every major gaming company's had money. Everybody who came into our room. At the end of the day, because I looked everybody up, I do this research because I had to do a presentation to them. I had to know who they were, and almost 80% went to the same college as Xi Jinping. They're all. It's all that. So basically, that you have this thing where
you know how China controls that, right? You know how China controls that, right?
What do you mean?
So, in order to release a game, whether it's mobile or non-mobile in China, it has to be owned, I believe, 10% by the Chinese government. They own a company called Tencent, which essentially rips off every single game that is released. Recently, they just ripped off almost entirely Tarkov and then reposted it as a game called Break Arena Infinite or something like that. That's free. And it's like they own Activision. They own Epic. They own everything. They are part of everything now, and we allowed them to.
So my point is, we are still living in a serfdom society. You have powerful, rich people, and the rest are trying to crawl into. For a little bit, the American experiment became a middle class grew, and right after the World War II, you had this thing of people were making money. People could afford. Like my grandfather had a factory job, and he lived a good life. He could buy a new car every 4 or 5 years. My father not so much. My grandfather was doing all right working in a factory. That factory is gone. That city is gone that I grew up in. So what happens is that ability to make a decent living has now eroded away. And I think there's a lot of things. There's not one thing. There's so many factors in what's in the erosion of that middle class. And I think a lot of it has to do mostly with us worshiping the lifestyles of the rich and famous. I mean, that was the show that changed everything. Lifestyles of the rich and famous, as the show came out in the 70s, and they used to go and see how great, not knowing that they had curated most of the stuff, right? And so Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was a show that came out in the 70s, I think early 80s, and it just became a hit, and everybody just started idolizing what it is to be rich and famous. And that became a goal. Not that, okay, have I earned this money in a way that's honorable? Do I feel good about myself? Or is it just, now it's like, okay, just be famous for being famous. You don't have to be talented. You don't have to be anything other than, hey, get famous for being famous. And, in any means necessary, twerk you can sell your body, twerk your way into success. I mean, God bless Kim Kardashian. I mean, God bless her. She is there. She's a world-class beauty, but she sold it, and she is got an exterior that's like tough as nails. So like, hey, and if that's what it takes to have that kind of fame and fortune, people will be willing to do it. But the highway is littered with people who had that belief, and now they're in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they got nothing, and they bow to the altar of wealth and fame, and that's a really tough king to bow to, because it's only few get through the gate.
That's something that goes back to the TV thing, because as I've grown up, I realized, like, wow, in the 80s and 90s, we just got farmed. And it feels like that created a lot of stupidity as well, because, like, how much misinformation has been just, like, thrown into Generation X and millennials through reality TV, thinking all this stuff is real when it's always been scripted, or all those facts on the History Channel are actually just BS, and then it's like, wait a second, they just showed the research paper they liked, ignoring all the other evidence, and then our parents bought it, fed it to us, nighttime news, it's like, oh wait, it's always been fake. So it's not only social media misinformation, it was what we all grew up through and got warped into.
Not being able to actually
start using the word curated. Everything is curated. It's like, that's the word that I really sums it up from, like, the news has been curated to have an effect, to have an outcome. It's not there for you it's curated to guide because the human mind is so easily distracted and easily guided. If you're and I'm an editor, I know how to make things look, put this image here, it changes how you see the next image. It's called, you curate your content. And that has been happening since the advent of TV. Yep. On the radio show, and even live radio shows curated their content. They integrated the product into the show. They curated it, and now we just have the ability to. We can fake everything now. I mean,
it's even going crazier than that. So last week or the week before, Verlis sent me this link, and I was like, "Wait, the fuck is going on?" So they're now saying and curating statistics that show you do not need to take daily showers, and they could even be harmful to you.
And for 100 years, they kept saying you got to get the dirt, you got to get the grime, you got to get these, and now they're saying no, it's like it has flipped 180 degrees. That's fucking amazing.
Experts say that daily showers have no proven benefit, dismissing the dousing that is socially accepted practice, gearing towards starving off accusations of funkiness. A-listers like Jake Gyllenhaal and Mila Kunis admit they have been saying no to the nozzle. I don't know why they call the shower head a nozzle. That's kind of weird. It seems pseudo-sexual, actually, but, it's insane. They're saying that the reason that we take showers daily is because of the prostitute state. What the fuck is going on?
Those filthy hippies, man. Now that they have a platform through social media, they're just saying anything.
This is where it gets to the pseudoscience level, and everybody starts buying it, which is the frustrating part. Tell anyone who mocks you that they are betraying profound ignorance of the skin microbiome, and then walk away.
Well, let's unpack that, because I believe that everything that seems to be like has some type of kernel of truth, and so let's unpack that. Let's investigate that with our logic. So let's see. We're no longer an agrarian society. We're not in the dirt. We're not working in factories. We're not working in coal mines. We are, so in most people, especially if you're living like a Kunis or people who are wealthy, yes, you know what? They're not exposed to the elements. They live in purified air. They have a better, higher standing of living. So they're probably exposed to fewer pathogens and fewer things that can make them sick. So yes, somebody who has an elevated life due to finances, they probably don't need to remove the elements from their body every day. Maybe they bought a house. Maybe they have. So that would make sense. But for people who spend time out in the world every day, going to, walking to stores, getting on airplanes, who are being exposed to the elements, I think it is necessary. So I think there's truth.
The beginning of this, happened probably like 4 or 5 years ago, probably right around the start of COVID. And it goes with this mental exercise. So imagine yourself in the shower. Don't imagine me in the shower with you, because I'm sure you don't want that. But when you're sitting there washing your body, do you stop at your knees or do you go all the way down to your feet?
Yeah, feet.
I just let it run.
Most people stop at their knees or the mid thigh because they cannot reach after that point.
Oh, God.
But did you know they actually did the science? This science I saw. Your skin is more damaged and more germy if you wash the bottoms of your legs than let the water run across them. So I wonder if that pseudoscience of like this thing happens caused them to say, okay, well, taking a shower at all is pseudoscience. We
I don't
just
think
do
it's
it
that.
for the perpetual, I want to be clean. It's weird.
Well, I think when they're talking about like your skin microbiome, because to a degree that also protects you, because there's good enough bacteria here that's keeping me kind of safe from all the bad bacteria. So I get rid of my good bacteria, and then I'm dirty, and then I got bad bacteria. But that's like taking it to way too far of an extreme. Where it's like, how about this? If you smell, shower, and we're allowed to shame you if you don't. But they just want to be like filthy and not taking care of themselves, and then deflect. That's my take on it.
No, it's
But
just
again,
weird.
and this is the conversation that needs to have a national pattern, because now we unpacked it. There's truth on both sides. There's some people, hey, you know what? You live in a place that you don't need to shower every day, so don't. And there's those other individuals that are exposed and they probably would benefit from being a daily cleansing. So it's never one thing. It's always a spectrum. It's always a bell curve. Life is a bell curve. Life is what's it called, the flower of life or something, where everything is just sort of patternistic. At extremes, everything's true, but in the middle, what's the accuracy in the middle? I give up the word true and untrue. Is it accurate or is it what's the level of accuracy here? What is my percentile of accuracy in this assessment? Because both ends, there's going to be an example on both extremes that is true. So truth is a matter of like what's in the middle, and we have to aggregate, the accuracy percentage. Okay, let's call this our, truth is an agreed middle place. Like yes, we all agree that 80% of this is so we'll call this reality. It's all in agreement.
This is where it gets funny to me. Instead of just going through and saying, okay, we no longer should take showers, it hurts our skin biome. Now people are using their loofahs for obscene things, and this is hilarious to me. I know you were not in high school and middle school when this happened, Woods, but in 9th grade, everybody finally started wearing these rubber bands essentially around their wrist. They weren't like rubber bands that stretched. They were like soft silicone bands, like the Livestrong bracelets.
But yeah.
But they were round and they were all colored, and each one of those colors meant something. Like if a girl was wearing those bracelets, it means that she was willing to do those things. If a guy was wearing them, they were willing to do those things or receive those things, whatever way you want to interpret it. And so it was essentially a game that everybody kind of played where you could run around and break a bracelet and they owed you that thing. I believe black was sex or pink was something else or whatever.
Wait, if you broke somebody's rubber bracelet, then there's a social requirement that you fulfill within
the construct of that group. Yes.
And how did they enforce that law?
It was just like a group thing. So I think it probably started a lot of relationships of like a way to have nonverbal communication with people or tell them what you want without telling them what you want. But now in Florida, and I guess a couple places in New York, because that's where I got the original headline from when I saved this, they are now using loofahs tied to their car as a way to tell people how much they want to swing. So a white loofah tied to your car. So you tie one for each person in the car. So you tie it to that roof rack on the side that you're sitting on. White is for novices and beginners, and you're not sure what you want. All the way down to teal. They are bisexual and they want everything. Both sides. I just thought it was really funny that we went from saying, oh yeah, let's not shower. No, let's use our loofahs for something else. Let's tell people, like sex bracelets, what we want. That way other people can ask us. That's really fucking weird. Weren't all the degenerate things back in the day inside of houses and we didn't fucking ask? Now all of a sudden we're like, yeah, tell me more outwardly. As we have Verlis sitting here with a fucking...
I can watch the Oscars and see more skin than I ever saw in a girly magazine back in the 60s. I can see more sexuality.
That's because there was hair popping out of their bikinis too.
I can see more sexuality and more skin watching Housewives or something than I ever saw when I bought a magazine back in 1960. I mean, that's an evolution that's been really fascinating to watch. And just a little sidebar, in Hawaii, an upside down pineapple meat. It was supposed to be that you're a swinger. That was a rumor that I heard about Hawaii.
That's true. That's across the entire United States. So
is that true?
The one that I heard, the wives' tale one that I heard, you know those stars that people put on their houses that are fucking ugly and retarded?
No, but go ahead.
They got like a white house with black lining and stuff, and then they'll have this big fucking nautical star where there's no windows. That is also a sign supposedly for swinging too. And that one doesn't make me comprehend it because I'm like, I've only seen old people with those. So I'm like, why the fuck?
Where have I been? I know none of this.
I haven't seen those, but I know about like bandana code for like kink or gay community stuff. Because it used to be more underground, where it's just kind of like an thing. But now it's almost being broadcasted more like, hey, everyone should know about this. And if you know, that's cool.
Yeah, so this is...
It's like wearing Crips and Bloods kind of stuff. Be careful not to wear red.
Well, no, it'd be like, if you wear a pink bandana, it's your bottom or something.
So This is what I was talking about. These stars...
It's also like placement on the body. Like, I think that's a real thing.
So I guess it depends on like where you are in the country or certain ideologies and stuff like that. But those stars...
I have seen those.
Yes. And it seems like everybody all of a sudden got a shit ton of them for some reason, and they became cool. At least around me, it seems like the 40s to 70 people are like, yeah, I want to put a white star on my house that's red. And I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And now they're saying, in some cases, it's because they're swingers and are trying to tell people that are driving by.
I thought, I saw a red one once, and I thought, okay, maybe they're communist. Then I saw a gold one. I thought, okay, maybe they lost a son or daughter in conflict in the army. So I see it, but I don't really go much past its decoration. You know, I really haven't thought that much. You've educated me. I never thought it meant something. I just thought maybe they're trying to be, they're trying to just, they thought it was, they thought they're decorating their house. Go ahead. Fine.
I guess because like the swinger community found something so stupid. It's like no rational, sane person would ever buy this stupid thing and put it on their house. Therefore, we can use this.
Ergo, yeah, I got it. That makes sense.
No, yeah. I guess the original standard of it in the back in the day was they used to do this in Pennsylvania. They're called barn stars. And it was like good luck. And then it became like a symbol of fertility and growth, which is ideal for a farm, obviously. And then in 2007, there was thread starting and initiating a rumor saying homeowners were swingers. And the term used to describe the couples that swap partners was the star. But they're saying that most likely it's false. But obviously, in 2007, most people didn't fucking lie. So I would assume that it came from somebody saying that's why they did it.
Yeah. I found the thing, it's like the handkerchief code. So just like the colors mean stuff, and if you put them like in your left pocket or right pocket or something.
Oh, I see.
Wait, tell me about the left pocket, right pocket thing. What is that?
Well, that was the handkerchief code I was talking about with like bandanas and stuff. Or like that was an underground gay thing. I found like a post
what happens if they run up to the wrong dude, like a Crip or a Blood, and they're like, yeah, you got a red bandana in your pocket. What the fuck's going to happen then?
Well, I guess San Francisco wasn't really expecting those kind of things to happen.
I know San Francisco doesn't deal with like the Latin kings, but that's what a yellow bandana is. If it's in your left pocket, so if this dude puts it in his wrong pocket, he either wants to golden shower somebody or receive a golden shower. And if you run up on a Latin king and be like, I'm going to piss on you, what the fuck's going to happen then? They really don't understand like the way the world works. That would be fucking bad. Like honestly. So I thought that was funny. I was like, wait, why is this news going all the way up to New York? I guess there is a place called the Villages in Florida, and it's renowned for how open sexually they are. It's a retirement community, like a gated community. They're all like 60 plus, but it is also the highest level of STD rates in the entire country because they all just pass them back and forth.
All this stuff sounds so fake.
Okay,
but like
the Villages is a very well-known retirement facility in Florida. I mean, some guy built this, took swampland, just developed it, and I think there's like 300,000 or 400,000 people live there. It's like it has its own zip code. So that is, and I think I don't know. I never heard about the STD, but that would make sense. Sure, it's like sure. You have this population of people who are past the point of caring. So, Yeah,
exactly. At some point, there's going to be different little nuances towards what you're doing and stuff like that. So I have 3 Am I the Assholes? And you guys are going to choose which one you guys want to do. Let me make sure.
3 what kind of assholes?
So there's this subreddit called Am I the Asshole? Where some people just farm karma and will post things and be like, well, am I the asshole? But some of them are actually rather introspective questions, and I kind of like them. So I'm going to give you 3 titles, and you can choose one. Verlis will choose one, and I will pick out the last one. So these are the 3 titles. You tell me which one you want. Am I the asshole for telling my wife to never volunteer me to help her family again? Am I the asshole for expecting my husband to do half of the housework? Or am I the asshole for going through my girlfriend's dresser drawer?
See, this is like where it gets weird on karma farming, because like you'll get something stupid where it's like, I made my boyfriend a cake and he got mad at me. Am I the asshole, or is he the asshole, kind of thing? So like, you never know what you're going to get into with these kinds of stories.
What do you mean? You calling karma farming?
So karma is a internet point that you get online on a website called Reddit, and the more karma you have, it makes you feel like a cool person. So they have incentive karma to say things in an innate way for you to figure out if they're an asshole or not an asshole. And most of the time they try and prove themselves as not an asshole, or they really are an asshole and fucking a dipshit, and they have no idea how narcissistic they are.
I think the whole thing is moronic.
Yeah, the whole currency is saying fuck Trump on like r/news and then getting 10,000 upvotes, and then they feel like a good person.
Again, this is the bifurcation I'm talking about. It's impossible. Either way, I would just kind of dispense the whole premise. Like, wait a minute, what's the circumstance?
Searching the internet to validate yourself, if you're not an asshole, automatically makes you an asshole because you can't validate it yourself. And that's why I think these are fun. And for some reason, YouTube videos about these are loved.
Well, and another thing is, like, you don't get the full story. You get the person that's trying to either like make the other person be an asshole, or defend them as not the asshole. So you find inconsistencies,
which is where the conversation around it is fun and entertaining.
Yeah, you have to like even think like, wait, is this person even telling the truth? And then it gets deeper.
So do you want to go through your girlfriend's dresser drawer? Do you want to complain about doing half the housework, or do you want to complain about being volunteered for family?
If my girlfriend was doing drugs and she's about to kill somebody, I need to find her EpiPen. Yeah, I'm going to look through her fucking drawer. Yeah, so
okay.
that's.
So you want to look through the drawer.
Let's see the story.
So here, I'm going to send you this link.
One we did a while ago.
This on a second tab and read it.
Yeah, so one we did a while ago was about like checking the dash cam footage because the husband like just dumped their dog, and she was just like, "Oh, I'm going to go into the camera and find out if that's what he did." And it was like a weird story. So we're going to get into something here.
Yeah. So I sent you a link in the chat over there. You click that link and then it'll pop up. You just got to read what is there. It should pop up automatically.
You want me to do something? Hang on. What am I doing?
Yeah. So there's a link in the chat. It says https reddit.com. Click that one.
Yeah, for Reddit. All right.
Yep. and then a story will pop up.
All right.
Read that story, please.
Read out loud?
Yes. Read it out loud.
AITA. What does that mean?
Am I the asshole?
Oh, for Christ's sakes.
Yep. And don't worry. There's NTA for not the asshole, so that's how people vote. YTA, you're the asshole. Yeah, it's great.
I'm putting my glasses on here.
He's
So,
gonna be a cool guy.
so I have ADHD and sensory issues. However, I'm pretty low needs and can manage my own stuff.
Gotta zoom in. Gotta make these words bigger.
All right, got it. All right, here we go. Start from the top. AITA for going through my girlfriend's dresser drawers. So, it says not the a-hole. So
Sounds like their vote, yeah.
yeah. So I have ADHD and sensory issues. However, I'm pretty low needs and can manage my own stuff as long as no one interferes. I have sensitive hearing, and that's my main trigger, so to speak. Noise stimulation is my main thing, but I always have precautions. I have this incredible pair of headphones, which is one of my prized possessions. It's blue and white, and I've had it since I was 12-ish. They block out everything, no joke. And they're smooth and well-shaped and fashionable looking, so I can wear them around my neck without looking like a weirdo. Who the fuck are these people? I mean, seriously. Are
This
these
is your
people just
average
fucking
Redditor.
stupid? Are you just fucking stupid? My girlfriend has a weird... This is not real.
Welcome to Reddit. Welcome to Reddit.
See, this is why it's fun.
This is why it's written by AI. There's nobody who thinks or writes like this. This is AI generated content right here. This is not even. I'm not gonna read it. It's fucking. I can't waste my fucking life. My attention is too valuable to let this kind of shit receive it. So I'm moving on, boys. I'm not doing this shit. This is fucking stupid.
Oh, that's the best response. Because,
Yes,
there's
exactly.
no winning with Reddit. This is what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Like, you get to see someone's insanity, and then you get to judge them for it because they think they're, in the right. But it's just all deflection. It's, oh, I have this, I have that, my mental disorder, so I'm not in the wrong. And it's just all of Reddit.
Dude, guys, we had such a great conversation going, and now we're talking to idiots. We do not speak of illness. This is mental illness. Yes. We do not give this power. We give it power by giving it our attention. It does not deserve power. And if we read this shit, we're the problems. So let's just fucking ignore it. I mean, if you want clay picks, fine. But for me, what the fuck? Man, we have so many. We can talk about the election. We can talk about the problems at the board. We can talk about the economy. We're going to talk about this shit? No. You guys, I love you guys. I can step out now and go get a cup of coffee.
I love your response. This is great.
No,
This is banter.
I love the raw response. That's why, as a whole, regardless of if we choose to do it or not choose to do it in the show, the response is the interesting part because you see who they genuinely are as people.
This is a problem. It's not interesting. It's not even compelling. It is horseshit. It's a way of stealing your life. Dude, you do not get this moment back ever. It's gone for fucking ever. And if you waste your life even thinking about that shit, then you really are, I'll use the word, you truly are fucking retarded. Because you have this intellect and this power and this insight, and you're gonna waste it on that shit? That's like opening up a toilet and saying, oh, what is this? It's poop. Let me pick it. Why? There's no fucking value. You get nothing out of this. Except maybe you get some clickbait and fine. That I get that. That makes sense to me. But other than that, no. I don't want you fucking considering this in front of me. It makes me think less of you, and I think a lot of you. So don't do that to me. Don't make me descend into a way. This is fucking idiocy. No, you guys are smart. You carry on good conversations. Descending here is fucking stupid.
Brother. I think you just beat your outburst of saying your dad stabbed you with a knife and you sewed it up with fishing line. That was the greatest response I've ever could have expected from that. Like, you as a character and you as a person, fucking love you, dude. You are one of the coolest people that I talk to all the time. And that was fantastic. Yes, you karma farmers, we are farming you. And you just got roasted by probably somebody you look at as one of the amazing dudes from a video game you all fucking love. Stop looking for internet points, you fucking retards. Hey, I got to say it finally because, I didn't say it first. So yeah, I thought it was funny.
I'm telling you, man, we got sponsors. YouTube algorithm, they read the metadata of our words. Exactly. You can't say retarded because then YouTube deranks us, and now he's saying it.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Your fucking show.
No.
He already said it earlier. No, wait, no, he said autistic. Damn.
Yeah. No, I've been doing better. Yeah. I've been using dipshit instead of. So you said you wanted to talk about furry shit and question him a bit on furry shit. So what was there that you wanted to talk about?
You just wanted to know about the dog collar. Didn't need to go too much deeper than that. But yeah,
no, obviously he had questions.
Yeah, I'm a furry.
What are you?
I'm a wolf. Damn,
wolf?
I don't have any. Yeah, I don't have any art immediately available to show.
All right. Now, do you go around acting like a wolf?
Nah.
Yeah, he barks at the moon.
If you act like a wolf, can I fucking shoot you and get away with it?
I'm in Washington. I'm pretty sure I'm protected. I pray I'm protected.
Don't fucking go to Wyoming, man. Don't fucking.
I know that. Yeah, yeah. I can't go where there's actual hunting and like real land management.
You gotta forgive my ignorance about this shit because I do not understand any of this. So, what are you saying? You saying you believe you're a wolf?
The thing about being a furry is that there's like multiple levels to it. Some people it's like all sexual, they're degenerates and fucking weird. And then other people, they do believe they're a wolf. I just really like the representation because it's more about the appeal. Like some people, they find cartoons appealing, comic books, superheroes and stuff more appealing, anime, all that kind of stuff. So it's its own subculture to me. And I just really like the anthropomorphic animal representation. I think that has like. So
is it more like a power animal to you?
Well, in a way, it's like not super spiritual in like a full
Native American kind of. So that's how I describe it when people question it.
Well, the thing is, like it doesn't go that far for me, but it's kind of the same idea where it's like you find power in this representation.
So what is the net benefit of assuming this what's it called? Assuming this identity.
Ideal. Yeah.
What is the net benefit to you? Like how are you better off by doing this?
I think it's just that cool representation where it's like the appeal of that is again like looking at a comic book or superhero or something like that.
So it's more of a. So it's an affirmation. It's a way of, is it something that you, like, how do you, when you say cool, I that has a lot of definition.
Yeah. So, that's why I try to say it's appealing to me in the way that other people find other styles and like cultures kind of appealing.
Is that an external reflection back to you where you say, I feel cool because people see it's cool, or you feel like you makes you feel more unique in the world, which means that you have a self-addressed idea that, okay, I'm unique because I have this perspective.
I'm not really doing it for like look at me, I'm unique with this. I just think the representation fits a lot better.
I don't know what that means, that representation. And thank you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you for tolerating an ignorant man's.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I'm not. I hope you don't feel like I'm being.
Absolutely not.
Disrespectful. I'm just really curious. You're my.
It helps. Yeah. It helps for you to say that you don't understand the representation because that's like what it's about. Because like you see that people have their own characters where it's like, oh, I'm a fox, I'm this pink dragon that has all this other crazy shit going on them. And I think it'll help if you see the character.
Give me 1 second.
But yeah, I'm gonna post a link because like that's kind of the big thing.
Would it be analogous to like, okay, I play a character in a video game? Right, I play Woods.
Yeah,
I don't think
it'd be very analogous to that.
Yeah, I'm playing a role.
Oh, keep it up. Make sure you see.
I was letting him see it. I'm gonna put it on the screen and split it like the fourth screen.
Just popped it open. Hang on.
Yep.
Hang on. I gotta find you guys again. Just lost you. There you
go.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, so yeah, you saw it.
No, that's why I like the analogy of looking at it like the Native American thing, because I know a lot of natives that kind of imagine a wolf or a deer or an elk or a bear as like something that is meaningful to them. And it's like, I don't understand why it's meaningful to you, but I can also understand why the imagery or the idea of what that is meaningful. Mm-hmm. And that part to me is how I can understand it, or even come to terms with trying to grip something that's not what everybody else says it is.
Let me say a question. So basically, when I build characters sometimes, right? Like with, Woods was modeled on a wolfen type character, the way he moves, the way he is. You know, that was, so basically I use animals as a way for body language, as a way to inhabit. Okay, let's say, how do I, how does a lion feel here? How does it, and it's kind of like you watch. So is it similar to that, where I would kind of look at animals to help flesh out a behavior of a character?
It's almost exactly that, because a big thing about furry is anthropomorphization, giving human traits to other things. So that's why we call the fox is sly and sneaky, and the lion is proud, and we have all of these tropes that have gone on forever. So just kind of taking those tropes from you, which animal do I represent or feel like more, and then building a character off of that, and then it goes into the style. That I find it more appealing that instead of making a Woods-like character that has wolfishness inside of him, it's I just think that character I have looks cool. And I know you said you don't like words like weird or cool, but that's where this appeal and this representation comes to me, where it's that character feels a lot like me and how I've portrayed it, and I like just looking like an anther wolf through that portrayal more than just an anime character or cartoon or comic book hero or something.
So this is my ignorance, and I know we've had a little bit more conversation about it. Feel free to add context wherever you feel like you need to. So this just clicked in my head when you guys were talking about the unique traits that animals would have or a human would have, and trying to crossbreed them essentially and get things. I remember learning about that in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade English, where you start reading the books about how this animal acts in this certain way, or a mouse is shy and everything else. And then there's mouthy people, and you can understand that there's similarities in between the stories that you read and the people that you see in the world. When you look at these things and you kind of portray yourself in that way, whether you look at a human to portray an animal, or an animal that portrays a human, is that how all the people are? Is they're kind of stuck in that thing where they were shown that there's equality there? Obviously you're just one person, but I'm sure you've had conversations with numerous people that kind of have looked at these things. Is that how you see it, where more people are connecting those dots, where they just haven't changed from there because they can see the world that way and it's okay? Or did I not word the question?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, you lost me too. I don't know what the fuck.
In high school, you learn about how animals and humans have.
Yeah, I got that part, but I mean, I don't know what you mean, how that translates to other people.
When you go into a furry convention, does it seem like they held on to those things as that's the only answer of how I can explain myself? Is that why they latch on to one animal? Is that why they latch on to one ideology of, okay, so a mouse is shy?
That's the problem with the furry community. A lot of them are freaks, and it's not like that.
No, that's why I was asking, because I didn't understand if it was trauma, so they kind of...
There's people that have 5 different ones because they take each little trait. It's well, this is my wolf representation, this is my mouse representation, and some people they're only
just butt fucking stupid. Yes, I understand.
Yeah, and then most of them are just in it for sexual fetish reasons and a lot of other weirdness. I just think that character looks cool, and it's a good representation of me. And maybe James can agree. If you've seen that character and you're getting the vibe from me, it's there might be something there. There's at least a valid representation.
Now, what came first? You were that character, that illustration.
Well, I came first, and it just felt right.
Did you create that? Did you see that and then decide or did you feel so which came first? You were did you see, were you already here and then you saw, oh, that's me right there, or did you say, I'm here, I want to create a image that represents me?
It's a created representation through that appealing format to me.
So you had that, or you created that picture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a self-portrait.
Yeah.
Okay, and you created that self-portrait. It wasn't already out there, and you said, "Oh,
that's my unique character."
Understood. Yeah. So you created that for yourself. I get that. That's cool. Yeah.
No, that's where I think his like ideology is so unique and so interesting, because it's not the degenerate shit. It's just a different self-representation of him. And obviously at some point I'd love to have these questions where it's like, was that a mental health thing where you're like, I like having a different version of me to kind of just separate my mind from what I'm saying, or what? Because obviously there's probably something in there.
I think, yeah.
As I think about it, I'm really fascinated. I really appreciate you letting me.
Well, I think it's really cool because I'm happy to talk about it and be like, yo, that's me. And if you understand that a bit better, I'm happy.
And what I'm trying to understand, like what I try to, again, I like to unpack things because I don't believe in negating or agreeing to anything I see in front of me until I unpack it. Every picture I see, I have to unpack it and make sure I see both sides of the equation. Like, why would somebody reject what you're doing, and why would you embrace something? And I try to see both sides. And as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, this really is no different than what's always been there. What's different is that now there is an actual language, and we have the capabilities of seeing, of manifesting imagination where we only had, for example, if you look at a science fiction film from the 50s, if you look at it today, it's like, oh my God, how did you believe this? How did you believe that was a spaceship? You know, but
or War of the Worlds from back in the day where it caused actual chaos.
Oh my God, it was a representation of a spaceship. The smoke with, you see the strings, or Godzilla. You can see the guys pushing the mine, but your imagination, because you wanted to agree with it, you accepted the journey. And the advent of CGI, we can create anything now. There's nothing. The imagination is now only limited by what we actually, we have, our limitations have been met. We already know what heaven looks like because we've seen it on TV. We know what hell looks like because it's out of our heads. And so this idea that, I'm going to manifest myself in this form of a wolf or a cat or something, it is no longer something that you can't. It's no limitation that you create. Like, I can do that because we've seen it all on TV. We have seen murders. We have seen everything. We have our entertainment has created an endless opportunity so nothing's left to the imagination. So this idea that you you identify as this wolf because that's something that's in you, and you have this. Sure, that makes total fucking sense to me. If that's how I'm receiving. Like, there is no limitation as to how you can express yourself because everything has been expressed.
Yeah.
Every fucking song sounds like every song. You can find any song. That sounds like this because there's only so many notes on the keyboard. At some point, they're going to start repeating, right? There's only so many patterns.
Yeah.
And I think within that, the creativity is, how do you disassemble and reassemble something to make it unique? And I think what's going on here is like you've disassembled the idea of identity and reassembled it using all the pieces out there. You're just probably using 40%. Where I grew up, we could use 10% of the pieces. You got 40%, and pretty soon there's going to be people using everything, and that's when it becomes. And when AI starts coming in, and you plant it, now all of a sudden you're going to be able to control how you see things. We're going to have control. It's like, so you're just the seed of what's about to happen.
Oh, the best thing is like that picture is AI generated.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
You told her what to do. I knew that. That's what I'm saying. I asked you.
Well, the cool thing is, because before, I'd have to pay someone to get a commission and then, outline my character, be like, it's got red hair and I have these markings and stuff. But then, the really fascinating thing to me is, I'm able to get my personality to come through an AI generation by feeding it so much, by selecting, okay, that's crap, good. Yeah. 100%. Customization, wild.
I have come into the world of AI with guns blazing. I use it for everything. my bio. I mean, I've used it for everything. I'm trying to get it to do a couple of things for me now that they're not quite there yet. But I see it happening, and but like everything else, I go back to my bell curve. There are people who are healthily saying, I'm expressing something here, and I have the ability to express this facet of my personality. And then there's people saying that just using it as a tool to avoid responsibility, a tool to be a jerk, a tool to be, deplorable. And so that's where this whole thing gets a bad rap. Because, again, all we look at is the extremes. We go to the extremes of behavior, and we forget that. No, most of it's in the middle. I'm expressing myself. I'm wearing a beanie and a fucking black bomber jacket. That's my uniform for today. This is kind of this is how I'm expressing myself in a way I dress, right?
Also, I'm a big fan of Pokemon, so that's why I have a Pokeball.
I could now I can dig in and get 5 or 6 references out of you. Oh yeah, sure, of course, that's that. But that's just you amalgamizing your influences. And here I'm expressing this, and unfortunately, it's easy to number one, like the idea of gay marriage, right? It wasn't that. It was more about the abuse of hypersexuality, of guys walking down the street naked, and and being just you can't force people. You can't put that in front of everybody. That's not fair. You can't just But my point is, it's self-expression when it's respectful of the environment. It's like, okay, nobody wants to see your penis. Keep it to yourself, guys. Come on. Nobody will. Hey, keep your body to yourself for now. That's at some point we maybe walk around naked again. That's a general acceptance. That's fine. But again, the parameters of the culture, we have an agreement. We're trying to do this, and there's the battle on how far
our tolerance.
Yeah, what's the tolerance there? So no, we do not. We do not kill dogs in America. Go to China. Well, we eat the fuckers. Well, all right, culture. How do you blend those cultures? So I think what I'm seeing that when I'm like, you're going to suffer for the sins of the crazy fuckers. You're going to suffer. You're a furry. Obviously, you're taking it up the ass and with bottles, and you're obviously that you're going to.
I do it in a fursuit and all kinds of stuff.
The worst behavior is like again, go to racial behavior, right? You take the worst example of a group of people, and now you apply it to this group that pretty much is like everybody else, right? So that's again, it's why I love unpacking. It's the same exact thing with any other fucking identity. Some takes the extremes the middle, the bulk of it will be contaminated by the extremes behavior. That's all. So rock on, Mr. Furry.
No, that's why I think it's so interesting, because there is such a change in between the exaggerative forms of it and the base, which is like, okay, this is just how I see things and how I look at things. It's interesting to me that, in the comments, there will be 15 fucking comments of, haha, he's wearing a collar. And it's like, we just went 2 hours talking about extremely, extremely in-depth shit. And you're more worried about devaluing somebody because of the way they want to perceive themselves instead of the words that are coming out of their mouth. If he's an asshole in the situation, sure, call him an asshole. But he's wearing a collar.
The danger in what you're saying, though, is that judgment has, because the idea, I just had this conversation today with somebody. It's like, he's a hardliner. This guy's a real fucking hardliner on the right. And we're talking about if Trump becomes president, he say, I hope he goes after all these fuckers. And I go, no, that's the mistake. The idea is, you're not going to change somebody who's way out there on the right. But by having compassion and tolerance and not beating somebody up for not understanding something right away, now you're going to capture that 10 or 15% that's on the out. Now you've made a bigger bubble. Is now when you say, hey, maybe this conversation will help somebody not be so judged, not be stuck in an idea that, okay, if you say you're a furry, then you're out there raping children in bathrooms, because that's what you see.
Well, it wouldn't be children.
Well, yeah, but okay. There's this thing now that some furries attack these kids on a school.
Oh yeah.
And the kids got kicked out. So that's the story, that the kids are dressing up like cats and they're scratching kids. The kids can't defend themselves, and they're the ones that are being kicked out of school because they punched this kid in the face. Well, that's the story you see. Yeah, and so maybe a conversation like this where we're saying, hey, no, don't jump to that conclusion. Let's bring it in gently back to reality. What's really going on? It's a form of expression. It's like back in the 60s, you let your hair grow. Why? It's a form of expression. This is my identifying with, this is the culture I identify with. I'm wearing tie-dye. Hey, I wore t-shirts and jeans because I identified with that. I was on a hockey team. I had a jacket. I identify with that. This is how and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm putting it in the same category as anybody else who's like, this is something I sort of like have an affinity for. I like athletes, so I get that.
Yeah, that goes back to, I find it more appealing instead of like anime or comic books or cartoon characters.
You fine. People dress up like, people ask me, like, do you ever dress up like your character? I go, fuck no. I'm not going to do that. But other people do.
Yeah, the cosplay and all that other fun stuff.
Go ahead. It's cosplay.
Or even at higher level
People have
shit.
cosplayed as, your character.
Yes.
And instead of you. Exactly. So like that's where they jump over you to become that character in a way.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Cool.
And it's like, again, the idea is like, but, to go back to my point of, I don't want to be criticizing you at all. I'm just saying, that let's be careful of condemning people who don't understand because they don't understand. So being general, say, wait, what do you think's going on here? Let me tell you what's going on. And the idea is that if we have to destroy everybody who misses the point, that's why we are where we are. Bring everybody back to the middle gently. Say, come on. All right, no, that's not what we're saying. Like, we could solve all these problems in an afternoon if we didn't have to defend, points of view. Like, okay, I thought you're doing this. You're not raping children in the bathroom? Oh, that's cool. So you dress up like,
as long as we're not creating a emotional response to something that's not us. And that's exactly what the entire world has done. We've caused all of our responses to everything to become an emotional response, even if it doesn't personally affect us.
I think everything is. We are still primal creatures. We are still fight or flight in our cortex. In our what's the word for it? Starts with a P. It's our reptilian response is fight or flight.
Absolutely.
We're babies. We see that, and we don't see a mirror. We see that. So that's taking care of me. That looks like me.
If it's against our team, whether you're red or blue,
yes,
all of a sudden it is an emotional response. You're attacking me. You're attacking the validity of me, my opinion, and my thoughts, and everybody on my side. So I have to come at you and come for your neck just to sit here and accept that, I'm a person.
Yeah.
And that's the shitty thing, is like everybody wants to pigeonhole everybody into a hole. And, that's the point of this show. Real Men Talk Shit is understanding that we're going to say whatever the fuck is on our mind and be open-minded, or be closed-minded if something doesn't fucking make sense. And thank you, Woods, for coming on. Make sure to go check out Woods, check out G Fuel, check out Factor. This has been a hell of an episode. We'll see you fucking later.